Welcome, everyone. This is Christina Mandlakiani, co-founder of Mind Valley and the host of Mind Valley Book Club. I want to introduce my guest, Madeline Mann. Welcome to Mind Valley Book Club.
Thank you so much for having me.
Madeline is actually the leader in recruitment and HR, the leading authority. She has created her own career coaching empire, which is called Self-Made Millennial, and she is the author of the book, which Mind Valley Book Club decided to highlight, which is Reverse the Search. How did you decide that we can turn the tables and turn the job seekers into job shoppers, which in essence, I believe means that you who look for a job actually get to shop like in a supermarket?
Really, what I saw is when I was working as the head of HR at a tech company, I was the one who was seeing all of these candidates come in, and it wasn't necessarily the ones that had the Ivy League degrees and the perfect experience that were making our hiring teams start to have this FOMO of we need to get this person on the team. There were certain things that these people did throughout the process that painted a future with them in it, not necessarily obsessing over their past, but painting a future where the company said, we love their personality, we love their abilities, we love their attitude, they need to be a part of this team. And what I saw was not just this hiring team, but many that I've worked with, they would extend their budgets bigger than they had intended for certain candidates. They would shorten their timelines to get certain candidates. They would go above and beyond for certain people, even though like they wouldn't have done that for other candidates. And so I thought, how do I reverse the search? How do I make it so that every time someone goes through a job search process, they are that candidate that companies are courting and moving mountains to get? And that's really what the book is about.
The message in the book is that pretty much anyone can reverse the search, and it doesn't really mean that you have to have the background to die for. It actually the trick is somewhere else. So even if you're looking for a job which you do not think is glamorous, you can still do that. Could you explain what is the secret, why some people are desperate and are playing a numbers game and others just go and pick the best?
Right. So if you are someone who's perfectly qualified, it's very logical to understand how you could reverse the search and all that. But I have tons of examples in the book, and then also just in my life working with clients. The majority of clients I work with are career changers, and yet they're seeing these same results where companies are finding them on LinkedIn and asking them to interview. These companies are competing for these people, and they're getting multiple job offers, even in this tough job market. And so the difference is shifting from this idea that you make your job search about preaching about what makes you great from the past, and instead shifting your job search to focusing on exactly what is the company's needs, and then making sure that everything you say to them, everything you show to them shows how you are going to be highly effective for them going forward in the future. So just think about anyone trying to sell you something, because a job search is a high ticket sale. You're selling your services to a company. If someone was just like, oh, I've done all these things in the past, yes, that is kind of convincing. But imagine someone trying to sell you something where they are fully understanding what you are going through as a business owner, what your needs are. They are showing you each and every step of the way their capabilities and speaking to exactly your pain points versus just speaking to things they've done in the past. That transformation is one that very few job seekers do. And that's how you become a job shopper. And anyone can do that.
I remember there was an example in your book of a woman who was 6 months pregnant looking for a job, and she still landed an amazing job.
She landed 9 job offers. So it wasn't even just that she got a job, which that was her goal, is just get me employed. Okay, get me employed. I need to make money. I need to provide for my family. But she actually ended up landing 9 job offers, because this is exactly what she did. Is she started, instead of just reciting what she did in the past, she was speaking the language of these companies. She was showing her value, and they were starting to also see her personality. One thing is that a lot of us, our personality disappears in the job interview process. In some ways, that's good, because we shouldn't be ultra casual. We should adjust our behavior in some ways, but also we lose it too much to the fact that suddenly we're so calculated with the way we act that if you don't have the ideas of the ways you can push the boundaries, how you can impress the company, you start to just get in this either like this stale zone of not knowing what to say and being a little bit too structured, or you go a little bit too colloquial where you're starting to say things that are actually preventing you from landing the job. So Alana hit that sweet spot in the middle and was really speaking to the needs of these companies, and it just blew them away.
For those of you who haven't read the book yet, we did send you the link actually before I announced the interview. But if you are interested in the book, I have to say that it is incredibly practical. It does go through not just the whole story behind, job search and hiring, and you'll get to see it from the point of view of the job seeker and the employer. And of course, it talks about, all those topics that you would have come across if you have ever searched a job. But it also goes very, very practically into how to create your resume, not based on what you've read online, how to do the interviews, how to negotiate your salary. By the way, that was a very interesting section. So it is a very, very practical book, and she suggests actually revising it regularly, because there is a very interesting concept, and maybe now it's time to mention it, that you can never have job security. And entrepreneurs will always tell you there's no job security, no matter what you think. And a lot of people are afraid of becoming entrepreneurs because they want job security, but that thing doesn't exist. It's a unicorn. But Madeline is talking about career security. Explain the difference and why one is possible while the other one isn't.
Yes, with this book, I did not want to just leave people with, here's a job search, get a job, you're done. I go into this idea of, okay, you got your job. Now let's make sure every single job search from now on is going to be 10 times easier. And it's exactly this concept of, you're right, there's no such thing as job security. You can lose your job at any time. People thought government, was a safe job. People think certain other jobs, but no, any job can lose funding at any time. So what you have to focus on career security. What is that? It is where you own, the company owns your job, you own your career. So how are you building up basically like a personal brand where people are bringing opportunities to you indefinitely? My clients say that even after they land a job, they are constantly getting inbound requests to interview them. So you want to build this machine of where your network and you're also being found online to be offered opportunities. Because I talk about how the people who are landing all these job offers are not necessarily better than you. They are more easily found. So a huge piece of reversing the search and job security is making yourself more findable online. So that's a huge component. The second piece is, really making sure that your relationships are doing really well in your career. This ongoing maintenance of people, and also the people in a company. This is huge. So anyone right now who's listening or watching, I want you to think about this. If you're in any sort of organization right now, networking within the organization you are is crucial, because every single person, they're likely to maybe not stay there the whole time. When they go to a new organization, boom, you have an in now. So just like always thinking about how you need to be building, having intentional steps every month towards building your career so that your next career step is sure-footed.
I know that you also had an experience where your dream job ended and you ended up finding a whole bunch of new options within like a few weeks, right?
I was laid off from, truly, you're right, my dream job. I had 3 dream jobs in a row, but this one was truly like the best job I've ever had in my life. And it was an example of, you could be the top performer, everything can go right for you, and you can still get laid off, which my heart goes out to so many people who that's happened to. And yes, within 3 or so weeks, I had job offers. And that was because it was a year in the making. All right. I had been posting on LinkedIn. I had been keeping my network warm. I had been easily found by recruiters. So every time they had a head of HR role open, I was usually one of the people who they called and were interviewing. And so I entertained those calls because you typically should, even if you're happy where you are, for this reason of, you can at any point lose your job. So even taking interviews as networking calls, I think, is a really great way. And a lot of recruiters I would say almost all recruiters understand that a lot of people will just take it as a networking call, not necessarily thinking that they're going to move on. And so I did that. Already I had a lineup of opportunities within a few weeks. I mean, I still had a couple of months left on my severance by the time I had started my next job. I was getting double paid. So it's stuff like that. It's like going from having this massive gap of not getting paid to now getting double paid. That is the difference between being proactive in the job search versus being reactive.
And I really love the idea that you talk about in your book that your training for job shopper has to happen during the good time. Not, I mean, obviously, if you've lost a job, you still can do that, but you should do it when you are secure.
Exactly. It's like don't grocery shop when you're hungry. Try not to job shop when you've lost your job. Now, of course, I think it's really important to say that of course, all of this works and can work extremely quickly for anyone who's unemployed. So that's not a thing, but it's just I have to shout very loudly to people who are very comfortable right now and think that nothing bad is going to happen and that their job is very safe, because I have clients every day who are completely shocked and thrown off. And so if you can be doing these things, it almost feels like sometimes like flossing or changing the oil of your car, like things that you're like, oh, these are maintenance things I don't really want to do. But keeping up with your network, keeping your LinkedIn profile updated, thinking about the way you are building out your accomplishments toward in the trajectory of the next role you're going for, not just to perform the job you're currently doing. And that's something I talk about a lot too, is really how do you make sure you're forming the next stage of your career at the current place you are. And if you're thinking about your next step, it's really important, because one of the top things that I have to coach on is a lot of people will lose their job and not know what job they want next. You should know like long before you go on the job hunt exactly what that is, and that's actually hard to do. If anyone is struggling right now of exactly, oh, there's several different job titles I want, that's extremely normal, but it's also hurting you in the job search right now if you're not targeted.
One more good idea, well, in conjunction to this one, which I read in your book, was that you have to start job shopping within your company, if possible, because there's a huge benefit in staying, well, loyal to what you do.
I'll give an example there for both if you're currently employed and not employed right now. You should always, if you want to make some sort of job change and you're currently employed, always explore where you are right now, especially if you want to make a career pivot. It's much easier to pivot within a company than try to convince another company to accept you as this new position. Now, let's say, especially in this job market, because this is an especially challenging job market and job searches are longer. So let's say you want to career pivot. Now, I've helped thousands of job seekers fully pivot into a new role at a new company. That is possible. But in this job market, since it's especially competitive, if you are unemployed right now, I recommend focusing on companies that would have the job that you want. Like, let's say you want to be a UX researcher, and right now you are in customer success. Okay. So if you're going to pivot into a UX researcher right now, I would find companies that are hiring or have hired UX researchers, because not every company has UX researchers on the payroll. So
Mhm.
find those companies that have those employees and then get a customer success role there and then make your pivot within the company. Like I said, I don't always recommend that in every job market. You can also make a direct pivot, but that is going to be easier than trying to convince the company, hey, take me on as a user experience researcher right now.
By the way, the book has really a lot of interesting ideas and tips and busting the myths. In fact, it starts with the 5 myths of job hunting, and it keeps doing that throughout the book, sometimes unannounced. Like, for example, well, quite a few interesting points were about the pivoting, about the start of the job shopping. But I want to actually keep it current, because you guys can get the book and go deep into that and spend other 8 hours with Madeline by reading the book. But I want to talk about the things which are a little bit maybe current and maybe not directly reflected in the book, but are about the same topic. First of all, US obviously has seen a lot of people being laid off, not just US. So it might seem depressing, and maybe people might feel even helpless in this situation. You do talk in your book that job shopping is as efficient in any kind of market, in the employer market as well, when there are more jobs like seekers than jobs being offered.
I would say I've been talking about job shopping for years. Before, job shopping was a way to kind of blow companies out of the water and say, like, wow, okay, we have to hire this person. Now I feel that it is a necessity to be landing multiple job offers, or sometimes at least one. So that is because sometimes people will hear the idea of job shopping and think it sounds like that couldn't fit in this job market. But truly, if you understand the principles that I go through in reverse the search, you're actually setting yourself up as a candidate that doing your own version of the job search process and your own version of the hiring process that the company prefers. So all of these actions actually are helpful, especially we're seeing record numbers of applications for job openings due to job seekers' use of AI. The strategies here now makes it essential that you're using these job shopping strategies, because before, yeah, you might have gotten lost in the shuffle. Now getting lost in the shuffle of applications is almost guaranteed. So you have to do other approaches to make sure that you're seen and noticed, and that companies are making sure that they're matching you up to the role. So there's a lot of different strategies that I would say now is the time, because we're moving away from personalization. We're moving towards more and more mass applications. And these strategies will help you to reconnect with the employer. And also, we're also seeing a lot of employers who are very scared to hire. I wonder if any of your viewers and listeners gone through a hiring process and then the company hires no one. That's very common right now, because companies are making a lot of pivots right now. They're like, oh, should we replace that role with AI? Do we actually need someone who's more senior? Do we need someone more junior? And so they just freeze. And so job shopping helps people to get the company focused on exactly who they need to hire, and it de-risks you as a candidate. Companies are so scared of making the wrong hire. You help them to make that decision.
Thank you for the comment that I can see this topic is so relevant in the current environment. I absolutely agree. In fact, I somehow think that this timing, that about the start of September, is exactly when we start thinking serious again about what's next. Also, so many changes have happened. Now, as someone who has employed people rather than looked for jobs, I know that from the company point of view, it is also incredibly frustrating, because sometimes you have a position, and obviously there are a lot of candidates out there fishing for jobs, but there are situations where sometimes you just can't find, it seems that you just can't find the right person. And it is paralyzing and scary to go into a relationship with someone who you're not sure, if they're going to even work out for that. So, how much do job seekers need to understand how their employer sees the process, and be in their shoes?
Well, I love that you say that, because you've built this amazing business. You hire people, and you hire really great people. I've dealt with, a good number of people on your team over the years. And it's a very interesting point that I hear from a lot of high quality employers like yourself, is that even though you get lots and lots of candidates, it's actually tough to find the right people. And sometimes you could have 300 plus applications and say, we didn't find the person. I'm actually curious to hear, has that been your experience in at least, like, just thinking about the past year, people you've hired, like, what has that felt like hiring in this environment?
So I'm not directly related to hiring anymore. I've hired for my teams mostly, but we have had situations, especially if the jobs are new, if you're exploring areas which, where there are no degrees yet, and you really don't even know what qualifications you need to look for.
Yes, and that's an interesting point that a lot of people don't realize. On the other side is, people think that hiring is a 1 + 1 = 2 equation of, we have these actions that need to be taken, so it needs this skill set, and so we'll find this person. And that's actually not the case. It's a very gray area of, how big is this role? How many hours would that be? Is this one role, or is this two roles? What leveling? This person's going exiting the business. Do we need to hire two different roles for that? Like, it's so confusing. And so it's also scary for the employer to make those decisions. And so if you are a candidate, now this is going to blow some people's minds, so like really listen in if you're multitasking. If you're a candidate who simply goes into interviews and just answers questions, you just receive questions, that might be one of the reasons why you're not getting offers right now. And you might think that's crazy, right? Like, how am I going to control the interview? Well, the thing is that most interviewers do not always ask the most effective questions to get to the other side of what the candidate has. So you actually need to go into your interviews with a mission, with a message, with, even also some prepared work of, hey, I looked through the job description and I matched up my experience to each point, like, showing them that and saying, is this the way you see me in this role? Like, what is the amount of time spent on each task in the role, and like working through that with the employer, and then helping to see, okay, I see how you match up to these things. And it could be an active discussion, not necessarily of you selling yourself, but of
Mhm.
you co-creating this role with them, to where by the end of the interview process, you're both extremely clear about what the role is and how this person could do it, things that they've already done, areas they would need to level up. Because right now, if we're just kind of passively going throughout the interview process, a lot of times the important information isn't always unearthed.
I have to ask the question about the obvious, the elephant in the room. So, if you've lost your job to AI, what are your chances? What do you do? And how much did this shift? How much has this influenced, well, the job hunt and the job search area?
Okay, so there's a few things I'll say to that. The first thing is, early in the book, I talk about the wealth formula, which essentially
Yeah.
how to choose the right next job. And one of the components is market demand. So basically, my mentality as a career coach is I'm trying to get you paid. Okay, I'm not just trying to get you some fluffy job that you're passionate about. Okay, but a job is to make money, and you need to go into professions where there is market demand, which means, are you know are they paying a rate that allows you to have a comfortable living, and are the number of roles increasing over time or decreasing? I want you to go into jobs where the roles are increasing. Now, if you're seeing AI starting to decrease the number of roles, now that's a lot of roles. It is shrinking a lot of departments. It's not evaporating in departments, but it is shrinking them. So that's a dynamic. But what you have to do is you need to be the candidate who is so knowledgeable of AI in your profession. Now, I'm not talking about, like, let's say you're in a marketing role and you say, oh yeah, I use AI to help me write emails. Okay, that's not impressive. That doesn't force multiply. You need to understand AI relative to your profession. Like, I talked to a marketer the other day, and he was like, yeah, I've been doing some AI automations for LinkedIn, like LinkedIn content creation. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is he going to say? He's just going to say he just takes viral posts and shuffles them up and calls them his own. Like, that's so tired and so lazy. No, he was like, I take all of the data from every post and have AI measure which one got the most likes and engagement, and I connect that to our sales numbers. And so then we connect each post to which one leads to the most sales. And then I use the AI to then generate like a schedule going forward of reusing those posts during certain like peak times and like all these things, right? That is the level you should understand AI for your profession, so that if they are looking to replace people in that department with AI, they are choosing you because you understand how to implement these practices. So that is my calling to everyone listening, is really don't run away from AI. Be the person who is learning, because right now the currency of the job market is not wisdom, it's not experience, it's growth and curiosity. And so you need to be someone who's showing these companies, I am constantly growing. We don't care if you have 25 years of experience, if you've lived the same year of your career 25 times. You need to be growing.
Besides LinkedIn, what other social media sites can be used to enhance social presence?
If we're talking about being found as an expert in your industry, you need to become a student of your industry. Okay. You need to be someone who's constantly consuming other people's content, other people's things. So, where do people in your industry hang out? Are they in Slack channels? Are they on Substack? Are they in certain Reddit threads? Like, what are they, right? And it might be something very specific to your profession. There even are like certain social media websites, or even just certain websites that are specifically towards certain industries or certain professions. I want you to find those spaces. And those, LinkedIn is the number one platform for jobs. What can be more effective is if you find like some of these like smaller communities that are more specific, and that can be incredibly helpful in you building a brand for yourself.
One of the myths that you're busting about this whole job search being geared more towards the entry level positions, and here the question is like, if I am looking for something higher level with high prices, higher salaries.
I would say as you move up in your career, there are fewer and fewer jobs. Okay. So, if there's a whole team of specialists, then, that goes into a manager or to VPs or whatnot. So that is just going to be an element of moving up in your career. And so really, if you are going to go for these higher level jobs, first of all, and this is I think this is one of the things you're mentioning, is that if you are more experience and you see that the company's asking you for a certain number of years of experience, like let's say they're asking for 5 to 7 years and you have 15 to 20 years of experience, you might think, oh, well, I am super qualified for this role, so I'm going to go for it. You're likely not going to get it because of exactly the reason this person just stated, is they don't want to pay that much, right? They're going for a lower level role, and they also expect you that even if you say, oh yeah, I'll take that lower amount, they have a feeling that you're just going to leave once you find a job that pays you more. So going for a lower level job is almost never the right approach unless you are kind of shrinking your experience a little bit and comfortable with that lower pay. That's totally fine. A lot of people do that because they don't want to keep climbing the ladder. But if you're going for high level roles, you have to bring your A game. Like straight up, you need to be going above and beyond. You need to be using these job shopping strategies. You need to be de-risking yourself, because as you go up higher and the company pays you more, that is a higher and higher ticket sale. Okay. And you also are your impact on the organization is outsized because you're likely managing people at that point or dealing with higher level problems. So you need to really bring, like, use the methods in the book, the show don't tell, the glory formula, all those things to blow these companies away, because there's fewer roles, they're paying more, and they're more scared to hire people.
So for people who are on this journey, I want to say that the book really gives you step by step, it's literally like a script you can follow to train yourself to become a job shopper versus job seeker. But I wanted to actually come back to that whole idea of, there are less jobs. So there is an idea that, technology, AI in particular, are going to eliminate certain jobs, or not necessarily like the certain type of jobs, but the quantity of jobs. So is there, since you're in that area, and it's a little hypothetical question, but do you think we are going to be in the world where there will be way less jobs on offer than there are people who are looking for jobs? Does that mean we're going to work less hours, or we have to invent jobs? We have to go elsewhere? What do you think the future is?
Yeah, and I don't like to freak people out, but really I do spend a lot of my day focused on this and figuring out what is the next step. And what I'm seeing is, you're right. We're seeing a lot of departments shrink where they would have had more people. It now is fewer. Now, that who is that impacting the most right now? Entry level, because we're seeing AI perform at an entry level position, and it does decent work, but there's a lot of corrections that need to be made. And if you're entry level, you will not see the nuances, because the way AI talks, it sounds right, but you need to have the expertise to be able to manage these AI agents. And so people who are able to manage these agents and actually have that expertise and have that strategy are likely to win out, at least in the foreseeable future. Now, what I'm also seeing is due to AI plus the impacts of kind of an uncertain economy, is a lot of companies are opting to contract to hire roles, or like just more contractor roles in general, meaning they're not necessarily bringing people on full time immediately. They're kind of testing them, they're using them. And so another thing I foresee in kind of the next couple few years future is I'm going to see more professionals possibly having multiple jobs. Okay, so maybe working. We see the word fractional happen, especially for you usually hear that pertaining to executives, where a company doesn't want to pay a CFO, $400,000 a year to do something for their small company that they could just do 5 hours a week. So I'm actually foreseeing something like that, where we're going to move into a lot more fractional work, where this doesn't necessarily demand people committing 40 hours a week to it, but they will be committing maybe 10, and they will have four different fractional roles where they're each committing 10 hours to that.
That's a very interesting scenario, and I think I believe that probably the COVID experience, where we used to work from wherever we were, also kind of contributed to this whole idea that we don't spend the full 40 hours in the office anymore. However, of course I'm just speculating, but reading your book, I think the skills that you are sharing there, managing your career rather than managing your job, probably will help people to navigate this new environment where the job is fractional and maybe you have to be a contractor rather than full-term employee. Would you say that these skills are transferable into this new reality?
Yes, absolutely. Because again, what the book kind of addresses is that job searching is a skill. Okay, we have to separate. A lot of people are so upset when they're on the job search because they're so capable and they're so good at what they do, but that is not being reflected in the number of job offers that they're offered. And the reason is because their skill set of job searching is not refined. And we see this a lot with people, especially who have been at the same company or same organization for many years. That muscle is not toned at this point. So if you are using job shopping techniques and you need to land more opportunities, if you have to land four opportunities instead of one, this skill set is no longer something that's like good to have, it's essential.
I applied to university last year and I realized that my self-sales skills have completely deteriorated after 20 years of being an entrepreneur. So I agree, this is the muscle we should keep training because we never know where we need it. So the question is, what is the biggest mistake people make when it comes to looking for a job?
You even alluded to this. There are 5 myths that start the book. And the information I get all the time from readers is, oh my gosh, Madeline, you called me out so hard in the beginning. They're like, I was doing all of those things. So it depends on who you are, of which one is the biggest mistake. But I will give you one that pops up for a lot of people. And that is this idea that, that the job search is a numbers game. And that is really what so many of our friends and family keep telling us. Keep going, keep going. This job market's so competitive. It's a numbers game. You only put out 50 job applications this week. Oh my gosh, that's not enough. That is total nonsense. Really what you need to do is, in some ways, you do want to track your numbers, but if your conversion rates aren't happening, you need to focus. Such as if you're putting out applications and about 10% of them aren't leading to interviews, there's something wrong. If you're outreaching to people, networking, and fewer than 20% of your outreach messages are leading to some sort of response, there's something wrong. Which actually, that one is a little bit funny because people will like only get 50% response rate in their networking messages and say, oh, this isn't working. And I'm saying, you're getting a 50% response rate. So it's all about, that's one of the reasons why like actually learning the skill of job searching is so important, because you start to understand where you are failing and where you are succeeding. And a lot of people are just doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
It is a very exciting topic, and thank you, Madeline, so much for joining us and for actually, being fine with departing from the book content and talking about other things. But I want to remind our audience that the book is very practical. If you're looking for a job, it's something you should read for sure. If you're not looking for a job, if you're in a secure job, then I would suggest you read it for sure, because nothing is certain in this world, as far as I know. Somebody writes here, yeah, that I've sent over 500 applications and got 0 interviews. I've been on this soul crushing journey as well. I guess we all have experienced that. My son has just graduated. I wonder if he's he's going to go through that, and maybe he'll learn to be a job shopper and avoid the pain of being rejected, where maybe you wouldn't have been even happy. So I want to thank Madeline once again for joining us. I want to thank everybody who's joining us live and who's joining us in recording. My tradition, if you're watching it in recording, leave a heart under the video or in the comments somewhere. And as usual, if you're not part of Mind Valley Book Club yet, then sign up. It is a completely free thing. People ask me, how do I join? How do I join? Until I finally understood, because you think that you have to pay to join. No, just sign up. We keep talking about the best new releases in self-help and business every single week. I interview one author once a week, so it's a very huge selection process. I know it's a little bit maybe ironic, Madeline, you probably don't know, but there are about 2,000 books being published every single week. We pick 5 for our roundups, and of those 5, we pick 1 for interviews. So the numbers game has been in your favor this time. So yes, and we do these interviews, and at Mind Valley U now we have the track as well. We award the best book once a year. So we do it for free because our team, book club team, the pro readers, we believe that somebody out there has to be doing that job and highlighting the books which are really worth your attention. Because with 2,000 books every week, you can imagine sometimes we can just stumble and not find what we need. So here we are. Get the book, reverse the search, whether you're looking for a job or not. And before I say final goodbye, maybe Madeline, you want to add something to this?
No, this has been amazing. Your questions have been incredible, and the questions of the group have been fantastic. I have been a huge fan of Mind Valley for such a long time. The quality that you all have across all of your amazing, insightful resources has been just always there. Thanks, everyone. Go out. I'm wishing you the best in the job search. And if you do like the book, please leave a review, because that is the currency of the book world, is reviews. So that if you get a job, the one thing is a thank you. Just writing a review makes all the difference.
And as far as I know, you do still do career coaching, right?
Absolutely. Yes. If you need help beyond the book, please come to my website, madelinemann.com, and we can see if coaching is right for you.
Thank you for that. I asked that because, sometimes you become a book author and then you suddenly become a speaker and a book author. So that's why I was asking. But yes, join Madeline if you need more guiding and, holding hand. But other than that, of course, buy the book. That's the best thing you can do for any author. And I'll talk to you next week. And I'm so glad to be back. Bye-bye.